Hello and welcome to episode, what are we on, 45, 46, 52?
I really should know that, shouldn't I? I'm normally the one that knows these things, and I can't remember. I think
Late
about
40s.
45-ish, 45,
Yeah,
46, I don't know.
we're edging ever so closer to our kind of
A half century.
our half century, and with that, the special episode, which I'm looking
Yeah, I
forward
know, and
to.
that special episode has been done and sorted for a long time, and we're on episode 46 now, by the way. This is 46.
Nice, okay.
So we've only got a few more to go, and then we can finally release that episode that I finished sorting, I don't know, weeks ago. Feels like months ago, but everything in time is screwed up at the moment. It
Yeah,
feels like, yeah.
definitely. No, it has been a bit of a weird kind of time phase that we're in at the moment. But yeah, it's me, Zaki, and Jonathan Nimmo, Wrong End of the Stick podcast.
Oh
Welcome.
yeah, I forgot about that. That was the worst introduction to a podcast ever, wasn't it?
What episode are we on?
46. That's it. Right, thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Oh dear. Yeah, well, I think
So,
that probably goes to show what state of mind we're in at the moment.
yes, yeah. So it's this week's episode's probably not going to be the longest one or the most kind of comprehensive. We're not going to do any kind of deep diving.
like how most of our episodes, really.
Well, I think we did all right with the whole buying a bat, and we did.
Yeah, that was a good episode. And strangely enough, more people listen to that than normal as well. So it's almost as when we put
There you go.
research in and time and effort into these things that it works better and more people like it. But we should learn something from that, shouldn't we?
Yeah, who would have thought putting time and effort into something reaps better results?
Oh, dear. I mean, this pretty much sums up our cricketing life as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, just
Like,
show up.
show up and hope for the best, really.
That's it. That is it.
Oh, dear.
So we're going to share some seemingly stumps today.
Yeah, we're going to continue doing what we started last week, which was sort of trading seemingly stumps and see if we can stump each other. I'm pretty sure you're going to get what mine is this time. It's a fairly easy one for you. So,
Nice.
and it's usually that when I say that, you end up not getting it what at all. So,
That's true.
with a bit of luck, I will win 2-0 again. So, yeah, so we've got a couple of seemingly stumps. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the 100. That's been in the news quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. We've got Two Can Play That Game, our new feature.
Yes.
Where you, more than me, are going to talk about a particular cricket game. What was it? Real cricket, is it?
Yeah, so it's Real Cricket. Was it Real Cricket 2, I think it's called? I forgot what it's called. I've got the app open, but I'm not
Real
sure.
Cricket 20.
Real Cricket 20, sorry, yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit about that later on. And then I've got a little bit of news about stuff that's coming up, hopefully, for next week.
Nice.
Yeah. So that will be good. So, yeah, and that will be us done. And then we'll leave people in peace again.
Let them get on with their lives without this hassle. These two babbling.
Exactly. Oh dear, right. Shall we do seemingly stumps then?
Let's do seemingly stumps. I've got one that I wasn't sure if we've done already, but I've got a backup one.
Okay. Well, shall I go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Right. Okay. So my seemingly stumped for you today is a perhapser. What is a perhapser?
Well, I know this because this was my backup one.
Is it really? How did we do that? That's ridiculous. Of all the cricketing terms we could do, we actually managed to clash. It's only the second week we've ever both brought them as well, and we've managed to clash. Excellent.
Oh dear. So a perhapser for everyone is a risky or erratic stroke.
It is indeed. Was it first come about in Australia in the 1930s?
It was, yes.
Yeah, it's strange though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is quite strange. Which leads me to my one for you, which is probably on the same webpage that we've taken this from. Mine's a red inker.
A what, sorry?
A red inker.
A red inker?
Yeah. Like ink as in like pen ink.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, it's definitely different. Definitely different websites that we've gone to, because that's not something that comes to mind. I mean, Red Inca. I mean, I don't know this, so I am sort of stretching and guessing at this point. But
Yeah.
I would think. Oh, I'm struggling. This isn't good. I don't. Have I been stumped before? No, yeah, I've definitely been stumped before. But this is not the way that I feel that this should go. Um, I think, and no, I don't think at all. I think this is probably horrendously wrong because it's not ink. So why would they call it a red inker? See, my thought process is that when you edge the ball,
Right.
a cricket ball, in certainly in sort of longer forms of the game, it's a red cricket ball, and it leaves a red mark on the edge of the bat. So my thought is that it's like an alternative term for an edge. So if you play at the ball, hard, and it leaves a little bit of red ink on the side of the bat, but that's not ink. That's just like leather and dye and stuff. So why would they call it red inker? That makes no sense to me. But I have nothing better than that, so that's going to be my guess. Is it something to do with a mark a ball leaves on the bat?
You are completely wrong.
No!
You are way off.
Oh,
Way
it's 2-0
off.
to you. This is not
Wow.
good. What's happened?
Unbelievable. So a red inker is a descriptive for a batsman that is not out.
Oh, it's the scorecard.
Yes,
Of
yeah, because they
course.
would usually
They use
score
red ink.
those
Yeah.
that aren't out. They would use red ink, and it's I've got a little kind of description here. It's usually the gentleman of mature years with an eye on his legacy. Uh, so he's a stubborn club batsman that never seems to kind of get out with a medium to okay average, and just refuses to kind of go out really after the day's play. And yes, so when they usually traditionally they would score batsmen that are not out after the end of play with red pen, indicating that they
Yeah.
aren't out.
Because I mean, that's something we should probably talk about actually. Because it's, I mean, well done on the Seemingly Stumped. It was good. It was a good one, and yeah, it definitely had me stumped. I got that completely wrong. Um, but the interesting thing is, if you see some of these like cricket scorecards, I mean, this only adds to that kind of mythology that cricket is really complicated and virtually unobtainable to learn about, which obviously we have proved is not the case.
Yeah.
But the scorecard, if you look at them, they're like people who score cricket, I mean, it's an art in itself, and
Mm.
they almost always use different coloured pens to signify all these different things and stuff. And trying to learn that is like, I don't know how people go about doing it, but it's like these scorecards can be an absolute work of art. They just look so pretty. But it does take some explaining to figure out what on earth you're looking at and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should talk about that at some point and try and do a bit of myth busting on cricket scorecards, and because it's all fairly simple at the end of the day. It's just counting the number of balls that have been bowled and how many runs have been scored, and all that kind of stuff that you would normally do in cricket. But it does look really quite complex and
By the
obtainable.
end of an innings, it looks like it might as well be hieroglyphics.
Oh, yeah, it is, and it can be. And if you don't understand what you're looking at, it just looks like so utterly confusing, and it's all in these different colours and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, each bowler and gets put in a different colour and stuff like this. But yeah, I mean, it's beautiful to watch when you see people doing it and putting it all together. But it takes like a vast amount of concentration.
Yeah,
I mean to be honest, I've scored just our six-a-side games that we play on a lunchtime through work. And that's bad enough in itself because, like, particularly if I don't know the team that I'm scoring, because I get confused as to which batsman's which, and then they'll cross over, and I get confused. Particularly if they're both dressed the same, then I'm stuffed because I can't tell them apart. I'm like, what's going on again? So yeah, I have a huge amount of respect for full time like cricket scorers because it's
yes.
it's something that I can't do. That's why I always volunteer to umpire rather than score because it's much easier umpiring.
I don't volunteer
I'll
to
make
do
a hard
either.
decision on an LBW every day over trying to keep count of how many balls have been bowled and all the rest of it. You'd think counting the six would be easy. Nah, not at all.
Nah.
But
I'd agree. I think most, I definitely avoid both umpiring and scoring. But yeah, I'm with you. I'd definitely rather umpire than try and keep score of everyone. It's just with a game with as much respect as cricket, you don't want to be the guy with the pen who's, getting an angry bowler come at you, or an angry batsman coming at you. Well, hold on, I've got so and so there. God, I don't want to be on the end of that.
Yeah. Well, good work.
2-0.
Genuinely good work. You absolutely had me stumped there, and that was a 2-0 to you. So, man, that's brutal.
That's brutal.
Given how long I know it took you to find that, which is about 30 seconds before we started recording.
Yep.
That's sickening.
Yep. I feel like Webb going up against Mitchell at the moment and winning for some reason on like historical trivia. I'm like David versus Goliath.
I thought you were talking about two cricketers then. I was like, who's Webb and Mitchell? Oh, no. What's going on with me today? This is good. I was like, I think two Australians I haven't heard of. Is this what are you doing to me? You've shot my confidence now.
That's it. I'm gaslighting you.
I'm a broken man. I don't know what's going on. I've got no faith in my knowledge on anything anymore. I think you're going to have to do everything on this podcast from now on because I'm done. I'm broken. No. You've broken me.
It's the lockdown. It's the lockdown. It does strange things to us.
I'm going to blame that. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. But I'm not sure it's true. But yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
Okay. Well, you've got some updates on the 100?
Yeah, there's a bit of update on the 100. Obviously, we did our sort of 3-part special last year. God, was it last year? Yeah, it was last year, surely, that we did this. Looking forward to the ECB's new cricket tournament called the 100. But obviously, with the pandemic and all the rest of it, the stuff that's going on in the world at the moment, there's no sport happening. And they have announced that the 100 is now going to be postponed until 2021, so it's not going to happen this summer at all. So yeah, which is disappointing. I think it's sparked up that debate about whether the 100 is a good idea again or not. And I do think people were starting to potentially come around to it a little bit. I think there's still a wide view in cricket that it's still probably not a great idea and probably could have been done better. But I think people had started to come to the fact that, well, if it's happening, let's see how it goes and things. So that's a bit of a blow, but it's also a bit of a blow given that a lot of money that's in the sport of cricket had been piled into this to try and make this a success. And it was a bit of a gamble that whether it was going to be a success or not, but obviously that's... it's not going to happen now, so I presume like the TV money won't happen, and there's obviously ticket sales and stuff won't happen. As far as I'm aware, and I'm sure you'll be upset by this, there's still no shirts available. So.
I was just about to say, so I'm guessing I'm going to have to wait till next summer for a London Spirit shirt, which I'm still not happy about that. I can't get one now. I don't see why not. But yeah,
well, yeah. So it is a bit of a blow. They have already paid some of the players have already taken a percentage of their contract, but apparently that's pretty much it now. They've all had their contracts terminated for certainly this summer, but then I think the hope is that they're going to keep the squads pretty much as they were as far as possible for next summer, so it's kind of just will roll over for a year. But there are going to be certain individuals where that impacts them. For example, Rashid Khan, who was an Afghanistan international, he was picked up by the Nottingham team, Trent Rockets, but he's going to be away, or likely to be away, with Afghanistan when the 100 will be due to be playing in 2021. So there's going to be instances like that where certain players are going to have international commitments and aren't going to be able to play anymore. So I'm not quite sure what they're going to do with those ones. And of course, the whole Brexit debacle may well be coming into play at that point, and whether that's going to have complications about work permits and all the rest of it. We don't know whether that's going to have an impact. So it's a bit of a mess, really, unfortunately, but not really one that could be avoided. But it's not great, and it is a bit worrying that a lot of the cricket clubs and stuff that were relying on the money that was going to come through this may well be in a little bit of trouble now. So it's worrying signs, really.
Well, it will. I think we'll be able to adapt to it when it kind of comes around, and I hope that when it comes around that there'll be a chance to sort of kind of reorganize and get the teams to what they were, but they're going to have a really tough job trying to bring back the hype again and trying to, I think there's a level of acceptance from the wider community, that were, like you say, I think the aristocratic members of the cricketing community obviously weren't on board with it when it kind of came around, and everyone was kind of accepting that, this was going to happen. Sorry. It was what it is, and now they've got to reboot all of that after a massive loss and possibly interest and having to go through that whole kind of.
Yeah, going to have to try and build that again. And I did wonder whether they would hold out in the hope that, because obviously a lot of sport this summer is just not going to happen. I know they're still trying to talk about, whether they can restart football season and things like that. And there's things like F1 that they're trying to get going. But you do wonder whether, I did wonder whether they were going to try and hold off and find some way of just getting it played so it would be on TV and it might build interest. Because if it's one of the few sports that is on TV, it might get a bit of interest that way. But they've obviously taken that decision, which is probably a fairly sensible decision to postpone it all. It would be a kind of a mammoth task trying to figure out a way of trying to do it safely for everyone. And if anything did go wrong and someone did get ill, then obviously that's going to come in for a huge amount of backlash of trying to do that. So it's probably a sensible decision that they've done.
Yeah, I don't think in any sport you can, especially any team sport, you're going to be able to adhere to kind of social distancing, and it's safety first, then teamwork, and you can't put others at risk, even if it is just televised and there's not any crowds.
Absolutely. So it's a bit of a shame. I was kind of looking forward to seeing the spectacle of it and just to see how it went down, to be honest. And one of the other things that we do have to mention is that because the women's side of the 100 tournament is going to be almost affected in a bigger way, really, because obviously the players that were the female players that were picking up quite large pay packets. I mean, in comparison to what the men were getting paid, it was significantly lower anyway. I mean, I think the lowest paid men's player was still earning double what the highest paid women's player was playing in for the 100, which is a bit crazy in itself. Yeah. But obviously there is not the money for the professional female players that there is for the county game will keep paying the men, and they're doing fairly well as far as I can tell in comparison to the women's players who there's been a few on Twitter saying, well, I've literally got no income now, and there's going to be no income for another 12 months probably. So it's going to be really difficult for them, and so it's probably going to have an adverse effect on the women's side of the game more so than the men's at this point. But hopefully there'll be something that they can do, and the ECB and people will step in and try and help those female players that are in financial issues.
Blimey. And do you know what? That is such a shame, and specifically for the women players who are getting paid significantly less. But I just think if you're an athlete in a time like this where you put your heart and your soul and you train, and that is what you do, and you get to a world-class kind of level, and then all of a sudden your income, through no fault of your own, you're at a position where you can't play the sport that you love, you can't entertain others. I just think it's a real shame that those kind of ladies are in that situation, and I think there's probably a lot of different sports that have been affected with it differently. I mean, I remember there was this whole thing about some footballers being a bit snobby about having their pay cut. Because they want a second garage or whatever it is that they want. They get ridiculous.
It's with all these things that actually it's the people at the bottom of the sort of the salary scales that are affected far more than those at the top. And because there's some. And a lot of sort of the top footballers have sort of said that look, we won't claim our salary for a couple of months or whatever, in order that money can go on for, to be helped for those further down the chain, which is exactly how it should be. But yeah, there are some that are just, they don't live in the real world. I think that's part of the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's mad. It's absolutely mad. But I mean, I'm keeping everything kind of crossed that, by 2021, we will no doubt go over and cover some of the kind of arguments that have been rekindled and
Yeah.
upheaved again. But I'm very much looking forward to it when it does finally arrive.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, for me, I was really intrigued to see it, and it was a bit more cricket on free-to-air TV in England, so that was going to be nice to see. But it is a disappointing news, but hopefully we'll get back to something next year.
So
We'll see how it goes. And if you're interested in all the arguments for and against the 100, go back and listen to our 3 episodes that we did last year. We've got the case for the 100, the case against the 100, and then our verdict show. So that should keep you busy for a few hours during lockdown. Everyone should go and do that.
Yeah, definitely. Revisit all of the episodes.
Yeah, revisit all of them. Yeah, revisit all of them. Why not? What else have you got to do at this point? There's 45 other episodes of us that you can go and listen to.
Oh dear.
Right, shall we go do our Bobby Brown segment?
Bobby Brown segment.
Yep, 2 can play that game.
2 can play that game. Okay, so shall I kick us off then?
Yes, please do, because you kick us off, because I don't have a lot to say, but what I will say will probably give you an indication of how it went with me for the last couple of weeks trying to play this game.
So the game that we were playing this week was Real Cricket 20, and it is essentially for those of you that are keen on games like FIFA, the EA Sports franchise, where you're playing games like the golf games and NBA kind of games. It's a take on, kind of that realistic simulation experience. And for those of you with that background and a passion for kind of cricket, it's definitely something. If you haven't got a job, if you haven't got a job and you've got nothing else to do, and literally you're in a post-apocalyptic war zone with nothing else but your phone, then you can try your hand and try and tackle this. For me, the controls.
Talk about being damned by faint praise.
Well, look, let me put it this way: if you're getting a kind of mobile game, and the whole idea for me on a mobile game is it's my idle time. It's something that I can do to distract myself, to unwind, simple puzzles, simple mechanics, pretty colourful graphics that draw the eye and distract you from all of the problems of the real world. What I don't want to do is start playing a game and immediately get frustrated with it. That's for me. That's what real. If you've got time to spend an hour consistently, just spend an hour. Maybe you go. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Being balled out because the timing of the thing is the most frustrating thing in the world.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I don't want to go into the batting system.
Looking at the positive things, it looks like a really in-depth game. It looks like there's a whole bunch of different modes. You've got test match mode. You've got all these different things. There's a multiplayer mode that we didn't even get to try because both of us had given up and thrown our phones out the window by that point. But it looks completely the part. It looks, for a mobile game, it looks amazing.
It does, yeah.
It is in-depth. I think this is very much not one for your... what I'm going to call casual cricket fan. If you don't know a lot about cricket, this is probably not the game for you. Because you have to get your sort of foot placing right. You've got to get your shot selection right, and you've got to get the timing right. There's a lot of things going on in this game, and to be honest, the timing thing is just utterly insanely difficult. Yeah. Like you've got to pick your shot and basically hit whatever the button is to swing before the bowlers let go of the ball, which just seems madness to me because you would never do that. You don't know what ball the ball is going to play at that point. So it kind of detracts a little bit from the realism of it for me. But yeah, it just like you've got to try and hit that button so early. It's just insane, and getting the timing right was an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah. I think if you I put it in perspective for anyone interested in getting this game, if you have a games console and you buy a new game, the prior to the first level, you usually have like a tutorial, and those tutorials can be a couple of minutes long or 4 to 5 kind of minutes long, getting you used to the kind of controls and but you can go straight into the game and work it out quite quickly. For those of you that know that, for this game, I got frustrated and bored, put it down after half an hour because I
yeah,
couldn't. I just found myself struggling with the baton mechanics. You've got 4 options on the right hand side that determine what your what action you're going to take, and then buttons on the right determining your positioning, and then you have to time your kind of thing all on two. Very simple, which is great. I think it's accessible if you've got time to kind of get your head over it. I think if you're a player that just wants a mobile game that is good for idle time, I wouldn't recommend this game. It's a 3.5 for me out of 10.
out of 10. I was going to say out of 5. That was incredibly generous, but yeah, out of 10. Um, yeah, yeah, I think you're probably right, because I think if you probably did put the time and effort into figuring out the timing a little bit more, maybe it gets a lot better.
Yeah,
But I mean, you started playing it before I did, and you warned me like, that you'd lost like 3 wickets in your first over in
I
playing
got so
a quick
annoyed.
game, and I was like, right, okay. Because given what you told me, I played. I think I was England, and I picked like the worst ranked like international team, which I think was something like Zimbabwe or something. And I also had lost 2 wickets after the end of my first over, and it was insane. I hit a boundary, which is sheer fluke. No idea how I did that. Never hit another boundary after that. But lost a lot, and then it was so hard. And that was on like quick play, and you'd expect like just the very first quick play mode, first in, straight in. I was like, let's just get into the game and see it. But it was just so insanely difficult. It's just it made it even more inaccessible than it should be.
Mm.
And
Very good. Yeah, go
I
on.
think that's probably a difficulty a lot of cricket games share. They can either be super, super easy or insanely difficult, and finding that sort of happy medium is a really difficult thing. But this has just gone so far to the insanely hard end of the spectrum that it just makes it. You just want to throw, as I say, you want to throw your phone out the window after 5 minutes of playing it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I never went back to it after that game.
No,
I didn't make it to the end of that game, so that kind of just
neither did I.
disillusioned.
The first one I got completely bowled out. I think for like 12 runs, and then I've played it kind of off and on. I think I've picked it up like 3 or 4 times, and each time I just got completely kind of frustrated with it. And I think you're right. The cricket, because cricket is quite a complex game, and there's lots of. I'm not saying that other sports aren't complex, but there seems to be a real difficulty in getting the feel and the mechanics of a cricket game just right.
Yep.
I think what would be quite good is, instead of having this overarching view, but more having like a first person sort of reactive thing. So if you are the batsman, you're only ever going to be the striking batsman, but you see it from a first person's perspective, and then you use the kind of analogs to move and then to hit in a certain way and direction, which would simplify things.
I mean, you have pretty much just described the game we played last week, which was stick cricket too.
Yeah.
So
that's simple.
That's almost exactly what you've just described there. But it is. And I mean, I was fine with like playing it from that angle and having that viewpoint and stuff. But it was just just make it a lot simpler in order to hit the ball, and make it that you don't have to play your shot until the ball has actually balled the ball, because that's what you would do in real life,
Yeah. Oh, God.
Anyway, that's low ranked. So yeah, that's not high on our list of things to pick up. In fact, now we've done this podcast, I'm massively uninstalling it and never near the thing again.
I'm in the process of doing it now.
Both literally uninstalling as we speak. So yeah, there you go. If ever you needed any more information on it other than that, I think that tells you everything you need to know.
There you go. There you go.
Well, we'll be back with another game next week. We'll figure out another one to pick, and we'll test that out. See how we get on with it.
Cool. So yeah, that's
That's pretty much us, except that we do have one more bit of information, which is a sort of an exciting tease for hopefully next week's podcast, is that we're going to be back with an interview again soon. So during this lockdown time, we are going to have an interview with Ella Chandler, who is she's played it like I think she's under 19s, under 18s, under 17s for the women's England team for like every possible level, and she plays for various county games and stuff at the moment, and is just like massively into the sport and stuff. So it's going to be really interesting just hearing from her on how she's getting on in lockdown, and you know what her plans are for the future, and what her cricketing ambitions are, and how she feels about the 100. Actually, I'm really intrigued to hear what her take is on that as a budding young England female cricket player. What she makes of that, and whether that's sort of the opportunities that she sees that might create for her, hopefully. So that should be an interesting interview.
That sounds fantastic. Yeah, that sounds really good.
So so that's hopefully going to happen at some point this week or next week. So by the time we get the next episode out, that should be coming up.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. So we're keeping this. We're trying to keep the spirit of cricket alive as best we can here in our unorganised and dishevelled selves.
We will try to get back to a weekly recording schedule, but it's difficult at the moment. So it might be next week, it may be the week after. So we'll I like to think that it's just like a happy surprise that when you download all your new podcasts that we just appear.
That's it.
Erratically. We want to just be so consistent that it's always going to be there. There's no fun in that, is there? So it's like finding a fiver in an old pair of jeans or something. That's
it.
That's what I like to think this podcast is.
So it's one of the old fivers that you can't use anymore.
It's not useful, but it's a nice surprise, but not very useful. And there you go. Okay. Right, let's wrap this up before we before we just turn into utter chaos.
Brilliant.
Yeah, well, thank you for listening, everybody. If you have got any comments on the 100, or if you've tried Real Cricket 20 and found a load of success, tell us how. And also, if you've got a game that you have played and really enjoy that's cricket themed, obviously, that we can review for a future podcast, do get in touch with us. We are on Instagram and Twitter at Wrong End Podcast, and you can also email us at wrongendofthestick@hotmail.com. Get in touch.
Please do.
Yeah. We're bored. We have nothing else to do at this moment. I mean, it's not like we both have full-time jobs or anything, but we're cricketing wise, we have very little on the agenda. So yeah, get in touch with us. Let us know what you're doing.
Yes, do feed us all of any kind of crickety nitbits that you want us to kind of discuss, because we're getting restless, and
we are, as you can probably tell.
Yes.
Dear. Right. Well, thank you for listening, everyone, and we will be back in a week or two. So see you again.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, out of sync again, mate.
No, that was in sync.
Was it? No, we totally missed that.
No, the bye was there.
No, I'm not sure it was.
It was better than last
I
week.
might just include this bit. I haven't stopped recording yet. I might just include this in the podcast. Right, okay.
What we do. We rate our buys, our synchronicity.
Oh, we do, yeah. This is what we do after every podcast. We just sit and talk about how close to being synchronized we were in our buys. Anyway, right. That's it for this week. So thank you very much, and we will speak to you again soon. Bye.
Bye.